Wonderful. Thank you so much for showing up to this workshop today. It is absolutely my pleasure, and I want to sincerely apologize for the last minute change of time. I got stuck somewhere that it was impossible for me to get out of, and then, yeah, life happens this way, and we have to find adjustments. So I hope that was not a big disturbance to your plans, and I know that a lot of people now were not able to join as the time changed. But I hope the recording will be useful. So it's gonna take around an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour, maybe less. Let's see how far it goes. I have prepared a few slides, but I would like to take you through. And anytime you would like to take a screenshot of the slides, because I'm sharing a lot of information per different layer, feel free to do. And let me just click share so you can start seeing my screen. You see my screen? Yeah, super. All right, so I am doing a lot of different things in my program as I'm taking care of the physical body, then psychosomatics, then also belief reprogramming and subconscious. And there is a lot of different topics that I'm touching upon in my work. But gut health is the one that is always the most popular, right? Every time I ask people, what would you like to hear the most? It's always the gut. One way or another, people facing gut issues, whether it is as simple as bloated or indigestion, as more severe like SIBO, for example, or Crohn's, where people have more chronic diseases around the gut. What I would like to give you a better understanding in this workshop is mainly the hierarchy of events that happen in healing in general, right? And I keep observing that in my personal journey and in my experience with others that there is so much information out there and it's all valuable, it's all amazing, but at the same time, people started getting lost. What is the one that I need to do? And there's a lot of like grabbing here and there, like right and left tools. Oh, maybe I heard about this and maybe that will help me. And I see that a lot. So what I'm also doing in the program itself, the way I work, is to put things in the right order. Nothing works in a scattered way, right? When you observe nature or when you plant a seed, right? The seed doesn't become a flower and then it goes back into the earth and does something else, right? There is an hierarchy of events that need to happen in nature for the flower to grow and then to flourish, which is the same thing that happens inside of our bodies. There's always an hierarchy of events that are happening. So if we're skipping steps or we're going further ahead in that line, or we're doing things in a scattered way, I just want you to just have this analogy in your mind where the flower does not go up, getting some sun, and then go back down into the earth. This is what we do as humans. And before I start, I would like just to share that all information presented in this workshop is for informational purposes. This workshop and its contents are not intended to be substitute or replacement for any medical treatment you are on unless you consult with your holistic health practitioner. All right. A little bit about who I am. Let me move this here so you can see. My journey started as young as 21 years old when I got skin cancer. And that started developing over my 20s through different diseases. And just before I got into my 30s, I started having all those typical diseases and conditions that people facing nowadays, from tinnitus, cancerous breast cyst, eczema, constipation, intense PMS, to the point that I had to take time off work, IBS, bloated all the time, indigestion, all those things that is very, very common nowadays. And at some point, what it really brought me to my knees was my tinnitus. The ringing in my ears was so loud that it wasn't easy for me to hear what people were saying at work. That sent me in a journey of depression. I didn't know how I will continue living my life, the rest of my life, with this ringing in my ears. And my health starting deteriorating from that point onwards, on top of everything that I was experiencing anyway. And after visiting many different doctors in London, I only was hearing the same answer. There is no cure, you have to learn to live with it. And the more I was receiving this answer, the more I didn't want to live. The more I was like, I just don't want to have this life if I have to deal with this noise in my ears. I ended up not sleeping at nights. I had to take Xanax just to be able to sleep for 5 minutes to go to work the next day. And at some point, I reached this rock bottom where I was like, okay, I don't know how to help myself. And doctors are completely useless by this point. And I expressed to my partner at the time that I started having suicidal thoughts about my life moving forward. And bless his heart, he took me from my hand and said, no more doctors, let's go cleansing. And that was my first touch with cleansing when I was 29 years old. Today I am 40. So it's been a whole decade really working with the physical body, not only through my own experiences, but further down the line, creating my own program and supporting others. So back then, my first touch with that was cleansing through different channels, let's say, different ways. It wasn't just fasting. Fasting in my life came way later. But I started understanding better the physical body, my nervous system. I started meditation, yoga, all those things. And little by little, I got out of the tinnitus. I started taking care of my water, and literally that event of tinnitus saved my life because I started then working so much on my physical body that every condition that I had ever experienced had completely vanished from my physical body. And then since I had acquired all this knowledge, I was like, I have to help other people here because if I can do it myself when doctors weren't able to help me, then I am sure I can help others. And my journey started when I started like self-studying, getting my certifications, creating my program. And now it's been going on it's about 8 years that this exists as serving others. And the first 3 years, it was literally diving deep into my own physical body. At this stage of my life, I am in my 40s and I have never been healthier than I am today. I have a really strong stomach. I haven't been sick for 6 years. The last time I got sick, it was 2020 with COVID. And since then, I don't know how it is to have fever. Besides some stomach poisoning issues that I had when I lived in Guatemala and Mexico, I have not actually been sick. And to my experience and kind of like working not only with my body, with my own body, but obviously having now a very huge gamma of people that I have worked with and having so many different types of bodies and blueprints and conditions, I have come down to this realization that everything has to happen in hierarchy. And that is what I want today to show you, especially for the gut, right? I'm pressing this button to move forward, but it doesn't. Okay. And I want to start with something very simple from someone that I really, really like to read as an author is a Kabbalist, Rav Bradway, who said, if something is overly complex and difficult to grasp, chances are it's not true. Truth is always simple enough for even a small child to understand it. So when you hear very complicated wording and spiritual words and fluffing around is just an ego trying to protect themselves from not feeling good enough and presenting themselves with this like flattering language. So truth comes in a very simple words in a very short sentences. Unfortunately, most of the time when a simple truth is presented to us, it often goes right off our heads. Why? Because we're conditioned to overcomplicate our lives and to gravitate towards chaos. So when something is more complicated, we say like, oh, there must be some truth here. This is very difficult to grasp it. So this is conditioning, and we have to somehow come to the understanding that this is a belief that need to dismantling and put it in the trash bin. Because literally everything is very simple and even simpler with our physical bodies. There is a lot of complexity there, yes, but also there are things that are very, very simple. So when they have taken it to in the right order, the body responds very fast. All right. So let's start with a big truth about the gut itself. I'm trying to move this from my screen. So the gut is not isolated. When you're targeting the gut as an isolated thing and say like, all right, I'm going to get some digestive enzymes. Maybe I'm going to start drinking water and lemon. Or maybe what about taking some probiotics, right? So this is like the mind goes to the gut as an organ since I'm having issues in my gut and I'm trying to do something around my gut. But the gut is not isolated and the gut is not the primary organ that gets affected when things are not in balance anymore. So the gut listens to your nervous system, right? It has a communication instantly with your nervous system. How many times you felt like you get triggered by something and it hits you in your gut right away? Because the nervous system and the gut, they work together. Also, our emotions getting stuck and processed around your guts, right? It's how you digesting life. We're not only digesting food, our digestion system digests energetically life as well. So if you cannot digest the news of something that got in your mailbox this morning, you will not be able to digest that day your food and vice versa. So it also depends on flow, on digestion and elimination, on absorption and repletion. So it's not I'm taking a batch of supplements and I'm just wishing that God and the supplements will heal my gut. Okay, let's start like removing these ideas and start kind of understanding again how many different things we need to take into consideration, particular for the gut this time. I think somebody has their microphone on. Because I hear a background noise, but I can't see where it's coming from. Anyway, so bottom line is if we skip steps, the symptoms stay. And what I mean by this, and I'm going straight to the juice of everything, here is the hierarchy of events that need to happen for your gut. All right, healing happens from the bottom up. You see, here is number 1, and we have an arrow that goes to number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you cannot heal a higher level up here without stabilizing the ones below. So you see very often people going here in this level, which is the terrain balance, and they start cleansing. Oh, maybe I should do some parasite cleanse. Sounds familiar? Or maybe I should kill my candida. So I take some medication, maybe some antibiotics. So they go up here and they start treating the gut, right? But what about starting from down here and understanding better that if you start cleansing, what the cleanse does is going to bring up on the surface from different parts of your body, between the tissue, organs, in your chest area, because they live everywhere, not just only in the gut. All the toxins, all the mucus, all the bacteria, all the parasites, everything will come up on the surface when you cleanse. But if you're lymphatic, the brooming system, like how you broom the floor of your house, Your lymphatic system does exactly the same in your body. It brooms and it gathers things and sends them to the liver. The liver processes everything and then sends them for elimination. Some things circulated back into the body, and the bad things, if we call them good and bad, they're getting out of the system. So what about now? Your lymphatic is congested, you're very puffy, water retention, and your liver is already compromised. It's not processing well. And you go and do a cleanse. What is going to happen? You're going to mobilize all these toxins, all this mucus, all this dirt, and then it has nowhere to go. So you're going to start intoxicating yourself. And so when you do the cleanse, you feel good because digestion sats for a few days and you feel lighter and you feel like, oh my God, this is so good. I feel lighter and my body feels more flexible and I lost some weight and great. Everything feels amazing. And a week later, it's like, why I feel so bad? Like I'm bloated, I'm constipated, I'm so puffy. I don't know what is going on. I have so many cravings right now. I crave sugar. Because guess what happened? You started cleansing and you start targeting because everybody nowadays is like, let's cleanse. Did you do this parasite cleanse? Did you do water fast? Did you do this cleansing? It's a hype nowadays. So everybody wants to try. But but what we're doing by just following, one second to admit this lady, but when you're not listening to your body and you're just following what your mind wants, what does it happen? You're overriding your body. You're actually abusing your body. The body doesn't want a cleanse right now. The body needs something else. If you have gut issues, you have to start from the bottom. What is your nervous system safety? Right? And a lot of people nowadays don't even understand or are in connection with the nervous system. So when we get triggered, there is an instant response inside of us. And there are four main responses. It's the fight, where energy needs to go outwards. And this is where anger comes in place. People are not angry. It's just a nervous system response. And we have to stop demonizing the anger and judging the people who have a nervous system response as fight, because we get them into tripping loop of feeling guilty because in that moment the nervous system needs to respond and excrete the energy that it has built up within themselves. All right, so let's have some compassion here for people who have this particular nervous system response. Then we have fawn, freeze, collapse, all those different responses. When somebody freezes and it stays like this and cannot even open their throat to say a word, this energy goes inwards. It doesn't go outwards as the fight one. It goes inwards. And then you stay there and you're like, sometimes I just cannot say anything. I just stay there like frozen. And then I can't even say a word. So I'm just feeling lost. Some other people running away. It's like, oh, I can't deal with this. Flight. Ciao. Right? So all these different responses, people are not even aware. I am in a nervous system response right now. So I also have to support myself to get out of this nervous system response. And every nervous system response has its own particular exit routes. It's not the same for everyone. My dominant nervous system response is fight, right? So when my energy needs to go out, don't tell me to put my hands on my chest and belly and start breathing. I'm suffocated, right? So you see all those things that nowadays mindfulness and do this and do the other. And it's like, yes, all is great. We also need to understand and know how to use each one of them. Learn what is your own nervous system response. We all have all different types. We just have one that is more dominant, right? And then we learned different ways to regulate our nervous system. So when shit hit the fan and in the morning you turn on your laptop and you see a bad mail and you all of a sudden you get triggered, your first response should be, I need to regulate my nervous system because I'm feeling it now everywhere in my body and I'm feeling it in my stomach. This is going to ruin completely my day, and I'm not going to be able to digest later my food. I'm going to be indigested, bloated, and constipated. Why? Because I didn't take care of my nervous system in the morning. So, one foundation here is for us to understand and learn our nervous system and which one we have and which different exit routes are helpful for us. My second workshop will be about nervous system, right? And I'm going to give you all these different types, all these different exit routes. So we start learning ourselves and how we can regulate ourselves. I had a call with a client just before this workshop. Before this messiness happened in the afternoon. And there is even a hierarchy of events in healing itself. You can't do belief reprogramming if you don't focus the body first. Body is the entry point. Your physical body is the entry point. If you don't regulate your physical body, you can't distinguish between trauma and depletion of minerals. You don't know what it is what, because they look such as similar responses in the body. So when we go back to the nervous system, our first response when we're working in healing, the body has the physical body, the nervous system, and somatics. These all three are in the categories of the body. So we start healing and focusing each one of them in the hierarchy of events. And then as we find balance in the body in those three categories, we can move in the subconscious. No matter how much you go in the mirror and you put affirmations out there, you do hypnosis or a belief reprogramming, this will never ever land if you don't go first in the body. Because the nervous system needs to be regulated, the somatics needs to be in place, which is somatics what? To reduce the volume of emotion that is trapped in your fascia. And then to take care of your physical body itself, your gut, your hormones, your minerals, your vitamins, your liver, all of this. When these are in place and in harmony, then any work you do in your belief system can land. Otherwise, it will always pull you back. The body will always pull you back to its own habits. So this is also another hierarchy of events that need to happen when we're approaching healing. And not say like, oh, I did this Reiki and I feel a bit later, but 3 days later, I feel the same shit about myself. You do somatic work for years to release the tension in your body or breath work, but I still feel not good enough. Why? I go and do hypnosis therapy, but I don't feel like I am standing on my 2 feet. I get triggered by rejection. Because even those things needs to come in the hierarchy of events for fully landing inside of our psychic. So now, back to the gut. Nervous system. Second, drainage and flow, lymphatic, right? The brooming system. If it's not open, the gut gets congested. It gathers more dirt, more things that are not moving out of the gut. Then we have the digestive capacity. As a third layer, when you're eating food, is it your food totally breaking down so you can receive the nutrients? Most likely, 70% no. And I see this from my clients all the time. Because what? The stomach acid is very low. The digestive enzymes, and there are so many different of them, and there is a reason why there are so many different, because each one of them, it breaks down a different nutrient in the body. So it's a particular digestive enzyme that breaks down the protein or the fats or the carbohydrates. If these digestive enzymes are not enough in your body, you're not breaking down the food. So when it leads to your intestine for absorption, you're not receiving enough nutrients. And when the digestive enzymes are not present, there's also a lot of struggling with digestion later. So the lot of indigested food comes out for elimination and it creates more mucus and more problems in your intestines. After you have balanced your nervous system, you have opened up your lymphatic, your liver is working properly, you're pooping at least twice a day, not twice or once every 3 days. The healthy pooping is twice a day, non-negotiable. I poop 4, but people don't poop not even once. So when you do cleanses or you're trying to repair and excrete something from your body, if you're not pooping, how is it going to go out? So if your lymphatic is not blooming now, your liver is not fully processing, but you're also not properly pooping, what is happening in the body? Inflammation. All of a sudden, we're not getting fatter. We're getting bigger because there is so much inflammation in the body. There is so much water retention. There is so much of stagnation. So once we have regulated nervous system, drainage, lymph, digestive capacity, our stomach acids are in place, enzymes, bile, another thing. The bile is a fluid that is moving to the liver for the liver to do its job. I'm talking in a very simple words about biology, okay? I'm using the simple words that I can use for those processes to be understood. When this fluid doesn't move at its pace that it needs and it's sluggish, the liver is not receiving enough bile. So if your bile is sluggish, again, there are certain processes that it's like a domino effect. One is not working and is dropping out the next one. So how can we go and do a cleanse, for example, or dump probiotics into our guts that the gut is already flourishing with parasites, bacteria, candida, and you start taking probiotics, more bacteria. Doesn't matter if probiotics is good bacteria. Since your gut is not regulated, this is going to make things worse, not better. So once we have regulated those 3 areas, and that doesn't take a week, right? This takes minimum 4 weeks to 6 weeks to consciously working in foundation. This is foundation, right? Then we can open the portal of a cleanse. We can see, okay, lymphatic is stable, we're absorbing better nutrients, the liver is not so congested, I know how to deal with my nervous system. Now I can go into a cleanse. The cleanse is never more than 4 weeks. And not these intense cleanses that people losing so much goodness from their body. A cleanse should never be hardcore or intense, right? A cleanse could be a very soft, easy journey when foundation is in place. When people go into cleansing journeys and they have extreme detox symptoms, you haven't done good foundation. So the body now is kicking in with very intense symptoms. My people, when they do cleanses, the user don't have any symptoms when we go into the pathogens because they've been so supported in foundation that it's just going through. The most challenging part for pathogens cleanse is the restriction of food. And then you are not having any, most of the times, not even symptoms around your cleanse. It's just passing by, you're doing all the job, and you're move forward to the next one. So once you clear out the bacteria, the candida, the parasites, and when I say clear out, one cleanse is not enough. Okay, let's have some realistic expectations here. One cleanse, it will get a chunk of it out. And then a few months later, you can repeat the same and you get another chunk out, right? We're not doing one cleanse. And sometimes I hear people like, I did 3 years ago a water fast. I did a cleanse. And I was like, I'm laughing. I'm like, what do you think we did with 3 days, 3 years ago? Like, we have to have a little bit of common sense how this body works and what actually needs to properly cleanse, right? So once we finish with the cleanse, we have to repair the lining of the gut. The gut has this like the same as our womb, the womb lining that builds through menstruation and then it peels off and we have our menstruation. It's the same thing with our gut. Our gut has a lining, a protective film But when there is so much bacteria, no enough stomach acids, and there is a disturbance in the gut, this lining gets affected. And as we not doing much about it and we allowing it to be destroyed over time, then we start creating holes. So when we have the holes is the so-called SIBO and Crohn's, where now bacteria are moving from the valve, like the stomach has a valve that separates the stomach and the intestines. But when this lining starting thickening and it creates hole, but now bacteria and dirt is moving from your intestines to the gut and from the intestines to from the gut to the intestines. So there is a transfer of pathogens and microbiome, like back and forth, that it shouldn't be happening. And this is where things starting getting even worse, right? So now, once we cleanse the first bunch of parasites, candida, bacteria, and whatever else we're working on the gut, we're starting creating a better barrier in the lining of the stomach. This is the next step. You're not stopping a gut healing when you did the cleanse. You're halfway through. Then you go and you repair the lining. So because the lining is not possible to be built when there is pathogens inside. So you have to reduce the pathogens and start then building and repairing the lining. When that happens, what happens after, we have better absorption of minerals, better balance of hormones, energy, and vitamins, because now the gut works in a better way of absorption, right? And the last one is flexibility, long-term resilience. What I would like now to do is to go one by one with them, okay? But before that, I want us to have a little bit of a pause and just all of us have a little bit of a scanning. Where are you at right now? Take a moment. I don't know where to put this or to make it smaller. Okay, here. Take a moment and check in with your body. And again, you don't need to diagnose yourself. Just notice where this feels familiar. Do you feel mostly stressed, tense, shut down? Are you constipated? Are you bloated or feeling heavy? Do you react to many foods or feel uncomfortable after eating? Are symptoms moving around the body despite doing everything right? So where are you at the moment, right? And I really would like to invite you to use the chat room to share with me, like, just where are you at the moment? Because if we don't have clarity, which layer of that hierarchy I am at, that's where the confusion comes and we don't know where to start, right? How's your nervous system? How are you feeling today? How's your lymphatic? Are you feeling puffy, congested? I'm gonna eliminate this so I can see the chat. Did anybody of you wrote something here? No. Did you write something? No, right? Okay, I close it because I don't have access to the chat if I don't click on the button. And so another note I want to make it clear here is that this workshop is not about fixing everything at once, because the concept of this workshop is that we need hierarchy of events, right? It's about identifying which layer needs support first. And if I move to the next one and start with the nervous system, this is decides if digestion even turns on, right? If your body is in a survival mode every day, stuck constantly in a nervous system response, your gut will not be able to digest. will not be able to do any processes in the body. And so now we have all these different types of nervous system responses: fight, flight, freeze. And you can see here, when you're in a fight, your jaw becomes really tight, or your belly, bloating with tension, irritability, rushing, control around food. This is a nervous system response. When you're in a flight, there is anxiety in the stomach. Your stool becomes more loose, or there is this urgency to go to the toilet, eating really fast and never feeling settled. And then we have the freeze and the shutdown nervous system response, where there is constipation, no hunger or appetite, heavy numb, stuck digestion. So you can start identify yourself. This particular nervous system responses is for the gut. There is also the mama umbrella of the nervous system responses, okay? Which is when I am having my fight response and energy needs to go outwards, I get very frustrated, there's irritability in me, not just only what I feel in the stomach. This is the responses related to the stomach itself, to the gut. And then you see here, when you are in the fight nervous system response, this is how you discharge in this particular nervous system response. When you're in a flight, you have to start walking slow, have long exhales, and weight and pressure. And when you're in the freeze, needs gentle activation, warmth, very small movements, rhythmic breath to get you out of this. All right, this is the first one that we learn. How can I support myself when I am in a nervous system response? In the next workshop, I'm going to speak for the generic nervous system responses that we have. Here we have the drainage, lymphatic, bile, lymph, bowels, and so on. So we need daily pooping, the bile to move freely and not to be sluggish, and lymphatic not to be stagnant. How it feels when all those are out of balance: constipation or incomplete evacuation. Like we go to the toilet, but it feels like I haven't really, been complete. I still feel there's poop to come out, but it doesn't come out. Puffy belly or face, feeling toxic, heavy, or foggy, getting worse when detoxing. All right, when you're getting worse when detoxing, you shouldn't even start it. This is intoxication. The brooming is not working. I'm already puffy. All this thing goes nowhere, and I'm feeling even more. How to support now flow? For your liver and bile, bitter herbs, dandelion and artichoke tinctures in the morning, lemon water before meals, gentle fats to stimulate bile. For your lymphatic, dry body brushing every day, walking, gentle rebounding or shaking. For your bowels, you can start taking magnesium glycinate or citrate, hydration and minerals, and consistent meal timing. When you eat in a random timing, or when people eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacking constantly in between, your body doesn't have a moment for a break. The digestion constantly is working. So how the gut is going to be able to even have a moment to breathe if you have gut issues? And this is where all these other layers of healing come into place. Emotional eating. There are 3 types of hunger: the normal hunger from the stomach, the emotional hunger, and the mental hunger, obsession around foods. When you have mental hunger, it's the pathogens talking, asking for their food, and they manipulate you through thought form patterns, sending it in your brain. When you have emotional eating, you get triggered, and there is this energy moving through the body, and I don't know what to do with this energy right now because my nervous system is dysregulated. And there is a journey that this energy needs to move through and complete its phase. But it's in its peak when I feel it's rising, like I am really need in the fear, in the betrayal, in the pain, in the sadness, whatever I'm experiencing. When it's reaching its top, we haven't learned how to deal with that peak of energy that is running through us. What do we do, or what we learn when we're kids? It was being done to us. You're reaching out with your hand, you're taking food, which is density, you're eating the food, and you're suppressing right there the emotion that was rising inside of you. So that's emotional eating. And you're seeing all the time, people snacking all the time, putting things in their mouths because there is so much going on underneath. Don't have the tools what to do with that energy that is moving through them. And the only way we learn to suppress this energy is through food. It has become our first drug. This is emotional eating. And I'm sharing it here because obviously, when we say consistent meal timing, we also have to learn our three types of hunger and who is talking it's time. So this is another layer of healing that is, interconnected to this part hierarchy of the gut. Okay. Digestion, digestive enzymes, breaking down food properly, your stomach acids, digestive enzymes, bile for fats, and calm eating state. How many of you eating calmly or without having the phone? Or literally saying, I am going to spend 10 minutes of my life focusing on my food, right? So bloating 26 minutes later, that's how it feels. Heaviness or sleepiness after meals. When that happens, know that your food has not properly broken down in your stomach. So there is heaviness now. Gas, pressure, or reflex, and reacting to many foods. This is where there is not enough of this present for you to be able to digest your food. Slower eating, fewer distractions, warm meals over cold or raw, digestive enzymes when needed, supporting stomach acids, and proper meal spacing. Gut terrain, bacteria, candida, parasites, cleanses. To get to this point, you need a very strong digestion. You have to open your drainage, and you have to have a very nervous system regulation, stability. Because if you go into this cleanse, it's going to get through off. Simple as that. You're going to be very thrown off. And so how it feels, we have sugar cravings and carb cravings when there is a lot of pathogens in the stomach, persistent bloating, brain fog after eating, and strong reactions to probiotics. This is where everything is flourishing in there. There is a party of bacteria, candida, and parasites. And then how to do, obviously, there is a whole protocol for those cleanses. It's not only what I wrote here on the right, but as a rule of thumb, gentle antimicrobial herbs, rotational or phased protocols. We never use protocols forever. We always rotating and knowing how to change because things getting used to and it's not beneficial to our bodies. Supporting the body alongside cleansing and never starting here first. All right. I have a little slide here about why probiotics often don't work and sometimes make things worse. Because probiotics is never the starting point, they work best after safety, digestion, and flow is restored. The nervous system is stressed, it's not going to work. Probiotics. If your drainage is blocked, it's not going to work. Digestion is weak, the gut terrain is imbalanced, and wrong type for the body. Some probiotics are stimulating or histamine producing and worsen symptoms. So now I'm opening a parenthesis about histamine, where it's a big problem, especially in women and when I work with them on hormonal, right? This is a whole other chapter itself. And it is more present nowadays in people's bodies than actually we tend to think, right? This is a whole other universe then. Gut lining, that repairing of the lining, the barrier, what it needs low irritation, nutrients, and time and consistency. How it feels, we have food sensitivities, skin reactions. So when we have skin reactions, know that the lining has already been starting getting disturbed, which means we have already walked, a few steps into imbalance. And how I like to describe it is like if you walk 5 meters into the forest with an imbalance, it takes you 5 meters to walk back. But if you're not taking care of things and you're allowing them to pile up, then you walk 10 meters into the forest. You have to walk 10 meters back, right? And then when disease manifests in our bodies, where is an autoimmune, where, as more serious diseases as cancer or thyroid or other osteoporosis, arthritis, all those things, is because now you have 20 meters into the forest. These things didn't appear out of nowhere. They got manifested because all those processes and hierarchy of events, they've been out of balance for a very long time inside the body. And it starts piling up and piling up and piling up. And at some point, the body is very intelligent. It always strives for balance, the same as nature. The forest gets burned down, and then what's going to happen? The nature will strive back into balance. It's the same with our bodies. The body is going to take you back to balance. It's working really hard and is very intelligent. So that is the reason why, things piling up, piling up, piling up, because the body is working really hard for you. But after a while, the body says, hey, enough. Now I'm going to manifest it as an autoimmune. I'm going to manifest it as a thyroid, as this and that, because now I have no other way to communicate with you, just showing you how far we've come. So now you've been already 20 meters into the forest. Now you have to walk 20 meters back. It's not happening like this. Okay. Absorption, rebuilding the system. This is usually what I do with the protocols when I work with the people on the physical body, where there's different phases of protocols. Like maybe the first 4-6 weeks is foundation. I check again their body with a scan. I say, okay, we see everything has moved to the direction we want to move. If I see things not moving, I'm boosting where it's necessary to break through and move that direction too. Once we get moved, another 4-6 weeks, it's a cleanse. And once we finish with the cleanse doesn't remove only the bad things. We're losing good things as well with the cleanse. So once we finish the cleanse, what we have to do, we have to rebuild now what we lost. Okay, but because we have created better environment inside of the gut, now when we're rebuilding, the absorption is much faster. Pathogens are not present, so everything works much faster. So the rebuilding stage always feels in people like this, like an acceleration of an event. But why? Because there is an hierarchy of events that we have followed through, that we arrive to the point where absorption now is happening. And finally, the body is receiving so much nutrients and so much goodness on a cellular level. And here you see, when we don't have enough absorption, and I have many women who come to me and say, I want to have better hair. I have very thin hair. I'm losing my hair and all those things. And sometimes they asking me, how do you have this beautiful hair? Your hair is so long. What products are you using? I'm very ashamed to say that I'm using a shitty pandan. And I am very ashamed to admit that, because this beautiful long hair I have is an internal job. Okay. I put nothing on my hair. Literally nothing. People who have lived with me, they can't believe it, that I just get out of the shower and I'm just ready to go. Because long hair and healthy hair is an internal job. There is not a magic stick that I will give you, a shampoo or a cream or something that it will make it grow. Okay, so the number one reason why hair is not healthy, or there is the event of hair loss, is minerals. All right, minerals is the food to the hair. So now if you're not receiving enough new minerals, if you're not breaking down the food properly to receive the minerals, and if you're losing more minerals that actually you're staying inside of your body, your hair is not going to grow, right? And when the absorption is not regulated, we feel fatigue. No matter how much we're eating well, we have a hormonal instability as well. When the absorption is not happening properly, that's where the hormonal also starting happening. Thyroid, what is it? imbalance of minerals. The classic zinc, selenium, iodine, magnesium combination. This is the 4 minerals for hormonal imbalance. Right. Resilience, eating without fear, digesting during stress, less reactivity over time, not getting sick. I was in India for 3 months, and people were asking me, instead of asking me, how was your trip? The first question was like, did you get sick? I was like, guys, I don't know what's going on inside of you and why this question comes first. But no, I did not get sick. Actually, my digestion got way better. I own it to India that people are terrified they're gonna get sick from bacteria. I own it to India that actually my digestion got way better because I didn't eat wheat and flour for so many weeks. I was on buckwheat and millet. Obviously, I don't eat all the foods. I'm very careful with what I eat in general. Like I eat very clean. But because I have a very strong gut, it doesn't touch me. It just passes through me. Nothing is affecting my immune system. The immune system is really strong. And so less reactivity over time. How to support flow in resilience is consistent routines. Like, for example, I give many different practices for lymphatic, right? And one of them is dry body brushing. If you come and work with me and we have a 6-month program and I put you to dry body brush your body every day, when we finish the program, you don't stop dry body brushing. We didn't open a parenthesis of 6 months and then you forget about all the practices and you say, like, okay, now I'm done. I'm just going to go back to my rebel life. You have to learn to support your body constantly until you're very, very old. Castor oil packs, dry body brushing, enemas, all those things, these consistent routines are non-negotiable, especially nowadays that there's so much external toxicity, and not only in the tangibility or environmental toxicity, electromagnetic one, through our foods, through our waters, especially for those reasons. Like we're not living like our ancestors lived. We live in a completely different era. So the support is non-negotiable. It's the baseline. It's not something I do as an extra because now I'm in this program. I'm creating my baseline of support because this is what I carry with me. And of course, I teach my kids too. All right, so this is not a prediction, like everything that you saw on those different layers. It's not what is predicted to each one of you because everybody is very different. Okay, this is some generic guidelines to show you the hierarchy of events that happen for gut health. And of course, awareness create choices. So the more aware we are, the more we educate ourselves all those processes, the easier it is for us to make choices. We're not getting lost. What is the right choice? So the more we know, my choice becomes stronger. And here's the domino effect of events. Once the gut is out of order, and then we have the gut needs its own hierarchy of events for healing. But if the gut is out of balance, we have an hierarchy of event that happens now inside of the body. So the gut is out of balance. It's prone to parasites and other pathogens leading to leaky gut. Then the pathogens stealing all our nutrients. We have hormonal and thyroid problems. Then the liver and the kidney takes its turn, gets really clogged up. The blood sugar gets dysregulated. Our adrenals now are into action, cortisol high. And at the end, what is getting affected? On a cellular level, our mitochondria, and where everything started happening, low energy, heart, brain, all those things, because there is also a domino effect that's happening, leading to all those things. So now, let's say, if digestion, you walked 5 meters into the forest and you haven't done anything, this domino effect, it will start affecting the rest of this list. So if you now are in a position where there is a mitochondria issue, you are 20 meters into the forest. So you have now to repair not only the gut, now you have to repair all these little things that fall down. That is the reason why I describe it as 5 meters into the forest, 10 and 20. So the earlier you start repairing and you putting attention and take the right actions in the right order, the better for you. You're going to spend less time to walk out of the forest. I mean, I don't know what this thought now crossed my mind, but it's also important. My parents, both of them, they have very serious health problems since very young age. And I am on it. I'm doing a lot. We're doing a lot of protocols and so on. The journey has been extremely slow. It breaks my heart because these diseases didn't happen now. It's been built up for 60 years. And now they have walked 60 meters into the forest. So to get them out of the forest and walk 60 meters, it's a very slow process. It breaks my heart. Right. And here's kind of like this domino effect also inside of the body. So the more gut health issues we have, minerals, vitamins, free radicals is this oxidative stress in the body. It's the most damaging free agent. Like it's a atom that is missing electrons. The more you have atoms in the body that is missing electrons, the more you are in acidosis, all right, in a very acidic environment inside of you. Toxins, parasites, bacteria, heavy metals, mucus, candida, and so on, in combination with emotional suppression, they're creating inside of us different manifestations. Many times you see people saying like, well, I have the same, like I also have gut issues and I have bacteria and parasites and so on. But you see people having different manifestations, right? Why? Because of the emotions that are getting involved. Somebody who cannot process anger lives in the liver. Somebody who cannot process worries live in the kidneys. So biologically, people could have the same percentage of imbalances, but how it gets manifested in the body as a condition or disease has a different exit route because of our emotional cosmos. And I'm going to explain about that too. So a gentle reminder here before I move on from this slide, there is no single cause for any symptom, right? And that is the reason why it's so important. And I keep sharing that on my socials so much about the health scans. The health scan will give an entire panel of everything that is happening in your body. From your minerals, the digestion, the digestive enzymes, amino acids, the state of your hormones, your liver, everything, your hair, your skin. And so when you have a symptom, we don't deal with the symptom. When I have eczema, I don't care about the eczema. I want to entangle the thread and figure out what it is the line that created the eczema in my case. My root cause of eczema might be very different to your root of eczema. The manifestation is the same. We both have eczema. But my healing journey from eczema might be very different to yours. Because in that thread that led to eczema, the things that have been out of balance might be very different. And that is the reason why the health scan is so beneficial, because it shows us that thread. So when I do the scans, I go back and I say, all right, this is where we start. This is where it's been out of balance in all these different categories. We blend them together as pieces of the puzzle and we create a meaning. I said, the symptom is because of that. So when we start the healing, we go back to this foundation at the bottom and we start from there. So when people say root cause, what they mean is to go all the way to the beginning and start repairing from there in an hierarchy of events instead of just focusing on the eczema itself. And I'm just using it as an example because I'm using it later in that slides too. So now here is symptoms that people live by as is a common sense. Oh yeah, to be human, is to have fatigue or headaches or eczema, psoriasis, acne, diarrhea, constipation, bloating, PMS, all these things, we have normalized them as it is. Yeah, we are human. I have a headache. I have to take now paracetamol. I haven't felt how it is a headache since last time I got sick with COVID in 2020, because it is not normal. This is an indication here that the body is already out of balance and the body is communicating with us through a symptom. If we not take that symptom into consideration and ask the body, all right, I have PMS. I have to untangle the thread of PMS. PMS is hugely connected to the liver. If the liver is not able to process all the estrogen and progesterone that is being fluctuating inside of us, if the liver is not able to process it, what happens? Swell in our breasts, puffiness, and clotty heavy periods. When we have that, it's straight up an indication that our liver is very congested for our hormonal, right? So what we do now with PMS, okay, we go back and say, how is our minerals? How is our liver? How is our lymphatic? Let's start from there. And as I start working on that, you see the PMS started actually fading away. There's no more swelling in the breast. The period comes and goes, and I'm not even feeling it. And I'm somebody who actually was taking the strongest medication when my period was coming, and that was coming from 18 years old until 33 years old. I had intense PMS. When I started cleansing and I went into fasting, my PMS disappeared. When I started working deeper with my liver, and now it comes and goes, and the blood is so beautiful and red, I don't even feel it. There is no changes in the body before my period comes. So then if we don't do anything about this and we're just normalizing them, we start becoming more chronic, weak immune system, arthritis, kidney diseases, heart and circulation problems, fungal and bacteria infections. How many women are suffering from vaginal candidiasis? I have so many clients, they are coming with candida. And the candida is very much connected to the gut itself and all that overgrowth of fungal, because the body it is in acidosis, in a very acidic environment. Here is an example between gut and eczema. It's a combination. I'm just giving you as an example for you to see the combination of the physical and emotional. It's a combination of environmental, such as allergens, hormones, foods, irritants, and microbes, and emotional factors together. From physiological point of view, eczema is correlated to poorly functioning gut. A healthy gut serves as a barrier to prevent undigested food particles and toxins to enter the bloodstream. But when the intestinal wall, the lining that I was referring to, is damaged, it allows bad substances to leak into the body and shows up as inflammation on the skin. In herbal medicine, it's believed that the skin is a messaging system for the rest of the body. So when something is wrong, your body sends a signal via your skin, so you let you know. From spiritual point of view, eczema comes to people who are afraid of being hurt and do their best to please others. They lack the courage of being themselves, and their behavior is directed by what others say. So this causes a sense of self-rejection because they don't accept their own attitude. It's like not accepting your own skin and it's bursting. Right? So when we looking at something that has manifested in our physical body, we're not only looking at it from the biological point of view, the physiological, which is one part, we're also looking at what is happening in your emotional cosmos, in your mental health, in your belief system, and what you're holding on to, right? Those two contributing to an imbalance in the body, right? It's not just only a bunch of parasites running in our guts or some deficiencies in our minerals. It's way broader than that. And usually the emotional, energetic part contributes 80% to the physical imbalance. And it's not so much what you eat. Okay. 5 indicators that we need a cleanse, that we need to decongest the body. It's food cravings. When you find yourself craving anything, what you're really craving for is nourishment because the body is out of balance or you have parasites. When you get cravings for low vibrational foods such as bread, pasta, dairy, sugar, or alcohol, you are being hijacked by these microorganisms. Parasites are more active over the full moons and they have their own appetite. Yeast craves sugar, bacteroidetes crave fat, Prevotella craves carbs, and bifidobacteria crave fiber. All right, each one of them has their own appetite. They each have their own method of asking for the favorite meal, using variations of techniques to trick you through thoughts, emotions, and obsessions. Right? Bloating and gas. Unhealthy lifestyle, severe infection, changes in bacteria in the gut, inflammation in the intestines, overlight sensitive colon, poorly coordinated signals between the brain and intestines, and of course the food you eat, and increasing your levels of stress, hormonal changes that accompany the menstrual cycle. This is the manifestation, and underneath, this is what is going on. Okay, so the manifestation is bloating and gas. But then we have to go and untangle the thread and say, all right, where is this coming from? Is it hormonal? Is it stress? Is it the colon? What is it here that we have to put the attention first? What is the body asking for? Right. Brain fog. There is an axis that connects the gut with the brain. If your gut is processing food all day long, there is no space for thinking. Yes, yeast and yeast infection, candida and fungi. Candida is a yeast and becomes serious problem when it's not balanced by friendly bacteria. When this is not treated, it takes over the digestive tract, but it also becomes an aggressive fungus. So if the candida is not treated, it develops to something more serious inside of the body, which is fungus. If not treated, people often develop sensitivity to milk products, wheat and yeast, as well to chronic fatigue. Excuse me. Trouble sleeping, fatigue, and exhaustion. Fatigue is a natural result of lifestyle choices, such as build of metabolic waste, toxins, blockages, deficiencies, and swollen colon, is what leads to feeling tired and fatigue constantly. If the sum of all of the above, how can energy flow through you if you are restricting it constantly? So this is the 5 indicators that if you're experiencing any of these, you don't let it. You're taking action upon it and you started regulating your body, bringing it back to balance before you ended up 10 meters into the forest. All right. Also here, because I mentioned the colon quite a few times, how important is people that have never cleansed the colon? The colon is the one that gathers most of mucus and digestive food, fungus, candida. There's so much dirt in there. The colon is the one also energetically that let us let go. If you cannot let go in life, start with the colon. Go and do colonics. Start doing enemas. Start cleansing your colon. The more you're releasing energy from your colon, the easier it will be for you to let go of things that are happening in your life. The more you grabbing from things that happen in your life, the more your colon gathers dirt, and vice versa. Those two working together. For me, I can't even fathom that people have never, ever in their lives cleansed at least once the colon. Can you imagine how much has been gathered in there? Because when we're pooping, it doesn't mean that the poop comes all out and then the intestine is clean inside. It doesn't work this way. Inside the intestines, in the lining of the intestine, is like an extra film and layer of a plaque that it gets built over time. So imagine now you have this is the hole of the intestine, and then the plaque started like building up around it, and the space for the poop to pass through becomes really, really small. A lot of people get constipated here. It doesn't even pass anymore. All right. And here I would like to tap on a little bit on the connection between your emotions and your organs. As you can see here, the liver holds anger. The liver is the valve for emotions such as anxiety, anger, and frustration. So when the liver is congested, emotions back up and we experience feeling all sort of low vibration emotions. Worse, it can affect your decision-making abilities and cause brain fog. It may also result in aggression and nasty outbursts. The gallbladder holds resentment. Your kidneys hold fears, and your lungs hold sadness. The kidney and the womb are very connected. So if there is a lot of fears around life, about finances, finances is your lower back pain here. Where is your kidneys? So the womb and the kidneys are so connected because the womb holds creation and the kidneys hold fear. So if the fear is very present, it's also blocking and create tension in the creation in around your womb because those two organs are very close to each other. This is information, not identity. Okay, emotions do not cause disease on their own. They influence the body when they cannot move, process, or complete. That is the reason why we do psychosomatics. That is the reason why when emotions, instead of stucking inside of our organs and in the fascia, there are certain practices where we allow the emotion to move through us and not to get stuck and suppressed inside of our bodies. The same happens also with emotional eating. If we constantly emotionally eating, what does it mean? Emotions that they want to move through you suppressing them and putting them in connection to these particular organs. So these organs, they're not only getting affected by the physiology of things, minerals, pathogens, lymphatic, and so on, they're also getting affected by your own emotions. Here, sorry. I need to stop this and I need to do this. Okay. Here I would like to show you a little bit the bioresonance scan. This is the scans for me. I'm opening a little bit of a parenthesis here. For me, if I didn't have access to these scans, program doesn't exist. There is no such a thing that somebody can create a protocol or get you in the right order of healing if they don't have access to see what is happening inside of your body. It's impossible. It's just guessing. If somebody says like, I have these symptoms and it gives you a protocol, don't trust it. Because remember, my eczema and your eczema has the same manifestation, but underneath could be completely different root for each of us. And that can only be seen through proper health scanning. So this is the program I'm using, is the Bioresonance Health Scan. And it gives me evaluation of the organs, all the food intolerances, mineral and vitamin deficiencies, allergic sensitivities, hormonal imbalance, heavy metals, toxins, candida, fungus, molds. I can see all of this. And then from there, we create different protocols, different phases. For 6 weeks on this phase, scanning again, checking, where are we at? Have we opened the pathways? Are we in the right place? Do we have the green light for the next phase? We don't have the green light. We stay longer. We make small adjustments until the body is ready. Sometimes people are not going into fasting in my journeys for 2-3 months. I made a post the other day on my social media how my clients get pissed with me because I don't take them into fasting. Because there are certain processes that need to happen before. We kept checking constantly through the bioresonance scan to see how the body is responding. And we're not making decisions because the mind said, I want to go to the next phase. The decision is always being made by your body. What your body is asking now is this particular thing. Maybe your lymphatic works faster than somebody else. And then I have to spend more time with somebody else's lymphatic system than that person that opened up faster. Do you see what I mean? But if I don't have visibility, what's happening underneath and how fast those processes work, then we're just guessing, right? If you feel a little better and you eat a little bit better on your stomach, I had this analogy the other day. He was saying, when you lose weight, you don't start all of a sudden eating junk food because you lost weight. You're going to put it back on. You continue being mindful with your food. It is the same with meditation. When you feel calm and steady and grounded, you don't stop meditation, right? It is the same thing with our guts. The fact that you felt better for a week or two doesn't mean that the healing is complete and you have to move to the next phase. It is only complete when you have really checked, see how things have moved and improved, and from there you can move to the next phase. It's not a feeling-based decision. It's actually checking internally to see how the body is responding. A protocol, it could look like a physical, like supplements, nutritional plan, body practices, and that has 3 parts. So when we do a protocol, also I don't use supplements as a cure. Supplements is not the cure. It's a supportive tool in the beginning of somebody's healing journey. Okay. There is no such a thing that a supplement will solve everything. So there is this category of supplements, this category of body practices, and the category of nutritional plan. This is a third. Those 3 thirds together in combination creating healing. We can't just only rely on a bunch of supplements and neglect the rest. Or we can only rely on a nutritional plan and not incorporating anything else. All those 3 coming together and creating the right holistic approach for having those steps that we discussed in the beginning in the hierarchy of events in a very holistic way. Then we do a lot of somatic work, psychosomatics, for all those emotions that are trapped inside our organs, our fascia, and release the volume. Water fasting is not a cleanse for the physical body. Back in the days, in ancient years, water fasting, people not having the same diseases that we're having nowadays. Back then, it was a practice to explore the psychic, to explore the subconscious. That is the main purpose of fasting. Nowadays, we're using it for the physical body as well because it has tremendous benefits, but it's not the main purpose of fasting. So we have the protocol, we have somatic work, nervous system regulation. This is the body umbrella. In the subconscious work, we have linguistic, frequency, and it's a very clear path and practice to discover your belief system. We have another practices, we call them the trees of consciousness, to again discover the inner programming and different ways to reprogram ourselves. This is also where fasting sits as a practice, right? And so what it looks in practice is what we need to add it back into the body, what it needs to get out of the body, all the toxins, heavy metals, parasites, and so on, what foods to eat, when to eat, how to eat, learning how to eat properly, how to nourish yourself, and embracing our cycle, like working with nature. Embracing our cycle and working with nature is helping our cortisol and hormonal. Is regulating with our circadian rhythm. Here, a little bit of a few notes before we come to an end around the gut. Factors like diet, medication, antibiotics, and stress can shift the shape and the microbiome of your gut. When given the right resources, it can recover and flourish. Your skin mirrors your internal health. Flare-ups like acne or eczema could point to gut imbalance that we already spoke about. Tips to support your gut. Cutting down on sugar can starve out the bad bacteria in your gut. Hydration is essential. It helps everything moving smoothly. Detox protocols for pathogens and reduce inflammation at the right moment. Digestive enzymes and L-glutamine, plus fermented foods like kimchi and sauerkraut, and polylethan-rich foods like berries and flax seeds. Apple cider vinegar can be a game changer for stomach acid because of the ways it boosts digestion. Only organic produce, chew your calories instead of drinking them, no fruit smoothies with honey. What damages the gut? Unhealthy diets, not enough fiber can inflame your intestines, snacking non-stop doesn't give a break, antibiotics and chemicals, chronic stress leads to IBS, infections and parasites damage your gut lining, gluten, lactose triggers inflammation, that can lead to Crohn's, celiac and colitis. Sugar is the food for bacteria, pesticides, and so on as toxins are produced. High fructose corn syrup, sugar substitutes, seed oils, and so on. All right, this is kind of like what to avoid completely and what you can start incorporating. And a few other tips, how to balance cortisol levels and lose weight that has been built up because of cortisol, right? A lot of women cannot lose weight because of cortisol, not because they don't know how to eat or they're not eating healthy enough, right? So mix together magnesium, ashwagandha, turmeric, and vitamin D. Did you know that if you have an intense reaction when you eat something bitter, is the parasite disliking it and not you? So when you eat something very bitter and you go like, ugh, it's not you, all right? It's the parasites that said, I don't like it. Instantly, in the trillisecond of a moment, they send a signal, I don't want it. Okay. Did you know that in order to regulate your hormones, you never eat glucose in the morning? So stop eating fruits, honey, and anything sweet in the morning, because this is the number one reason for glucose spike in the morning, and then glucose, you know, I got stuck with my English word now. When it abruptly falls, I just got stuck.
It's just the word.
Never in the morning. So, because if you have a glucose spike and then you drop, what is going to happen in that drop? You're going to ask for glucose again. So during the day, you're going to go like this, up and down in spikes. But if you start your breakfast in the morning savory, eggs, avocados, spinach, tomato, then you don't have a glucose spike. Your glucose goes more in a plateau and it does this throughout the day. Okay? Eat your food in the right order, starting always with fiber, rich veggies, after the protein, and last the fat, literally in your plate. Condense everything you eat to 3 meals a day. Limit your eating window, and fruits only after your food, never as a snack. Pair your fruits always with food. If you want to have a fruit, have it after your lunch and dinner, never as a snack. Glucose spikes lead to hormone imbalances, saggy skin, cellulite, bloating, fatigue, general badness, more cravings, and gut issues. And years of glucose spikes lead to disease. Eat leafy greens before any food with glucose. Like, for example, you want to have a dessert. And of course, we're not talking about refined sugar. Let's say you have a dessert that has dates and honey, a healthy dessert, still has glucose inside. Have some leafy greens before as a buffer so the glucose doesn't spike. That's another tip there. Things like PMS, hormonal acne, weight gain or loss, intense cravings, mood swings, irritability, thinning hair, bloating, water retention, painful or irregular periods, heavy periods, and so on. Depression, feeling broken, not wanting to leave the house. These are common nowadays, but are not normal. Okay, don't normalize any of these that are happening or manifesting or being present in your life. This is a sign to look deeper. This is a sign to take care of yourself, or to ask for guidance. And here, a little bit of an integration moment. Before we close, I want you to pause and notice for a moment what made the most sense to you today out of all of this. What felt familiar in your body? And what finally explains something you have been experiencing? You can share. So we have a little bit of kind of like Q&A based on those questions. And again, you don't need to act on everything you learn. You just need to take one aligned step, not a scattered step. One aligned, one first action in a very aligned way, in a very, in an order way. So let me check okay, here. Now I see all the messages. Before I couldn't see them. Okay, Danny is sharing that often feels tense and have very dry system, like dry skin, eyes, and so on. A lot of dehydration I sense. So no matter how much water you drink, it's not actually reaching on a cellular level. I have been working on the gut in the different levels already for a year, but it's on and off. So Danny, have you incorporated your healing journey around the gut with this hierarchy?
Do you mean with the different levels? By the
Mm-hmm.
way, thank you so much for the whole explanation. No, so what I've been doing is that I've had my blood and like poo tested like a year ago, and then she we did something like the order, like first the lining and then different supplements, and she's I think very well trained. And I also work in psychotherapy and as a therapist myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the one thing that's really missing is the nervous system. And yeah, so that mostly. And I also have a very big question to you about, did you mention you had skin cancer, right? I
Mm-hmm.
also had skin cancer, so I was really wondering how you see this in the picture, because this is such a big question for me, as the doctors only point towards the sun and sun cream. And I'm always like, this
No,
can't
no.
be it. But yeah, so the skin, the dry skin and the cancer are like the main.
See, so skin cancer, any skin condition, it's people who have suppressed the truth. They're not speaking. So the skin is speaking for them. So if I go back the memory lane of my life, what happened back then, because it came to me when I was 21. I was professional athlete, and a very traumatic event happened in my life that I never spoke. From that point onwards, things started piling up inside of me in that like pressure cook. I started having asthma, I had the skin cancer, and the skin, this is the emotional part, like this kind of like I had varicose veins, 21 years old, because the pressure of that energy was going downwards, and it was either bursting through the skin or through my veins. And the veins have this valve where they regulate the blood flow towards down. So when the energy is suppressed, the blood flow goes with so much intensity down that this valve goes like this. So the varicose vein is the valve that has, with a lot of pressure of the valve, has like been crooked now. So, and then skin cancer is also the gut itself, right? The amount of antibiotics that I took in my teen years is out of this scope.
Yeah,
See.
thank you so much for sharing.
My pleasure. And then we have Magdalena, tension shut down, bloated. I don't react to many foods, but I do feel healthy or comfortable sometimes after eating. Back to the nervous system. Back to the nervous system. I have acne for years, migraines before my period. Since last year, August, problems with my lungs, breathing, eczema. I feel stressed all the time, bloating, anxiety, heart racing after some food. There's a lot of different layers overlapping here. It's not just one, okay? And there is also many different emotions connected to that. And the manifestation on the physical, if I only look at the physicality, perhaps it has its own thread, and there are many threads opening up here and interconnected. I can't give you a diagnosis and say, oh, this is the thing, because if I don't see inside to see what is the threads, but because while I can see the overlapping of different threads. That is the reason why all these different manifestations. Acne for years is, like we said, is gut and speaking your truth, people's pleasers, big time. So when I work with somebody, of course, we're working on a protocol and having like the physiology back in place, and then we start working on the belief system. So what it is this as a programming inside of you that makes you protecting yourself by pleasing others. Okay. I feel I am in fight. I catch myself feeling tension in my belly apart from the inflammation after eating any food. Also very dehydrated by drinking water and electrolytes. There is problem with absorption. And like we said, absorption sits in the layer after the 4 foundational first work. No nervous system, lymphatic, the cleansing, and then after that, the absorption comes back in where we're not feeling dehydrated anymore. I want to eat something all the time. My circle poop is imbalanced and I cannot digest my food easily. I want to eat all the time. 3 hungers. We have to understand and separate who is talking each time. I want to eat all time. Is it because there is so much inside of me that I don't know how to process? So I'm using the food to regulate myself. Is regulation, or it's obsession? Like these obsessed thoughts of like, I just cannot get it out of my head. Like I'm craving this pizza. This is parasites. I feel bloated and I'm pretty sure my nervous system is in fight mode even when I'm calm. I love that. Sometimes I'm there too. Now, hormones really make me life difficult. Well, the hormonal, it has many layers that is connected to that. It's like, okay, the liver that it needs to process the hormones, and then it's our cortisol, the adrenals, and the nervous system. So all those things are connected together to bring the hormonal back in alignment. All right. It's not just only hormones as progesterone and estrogen, which is the menstrual. It's so many other aspects connected to hormones. Violetta, on your program, do you include soul lymphatic drainage practices? I have everything. The lymphatic drainage practices is part of the protocols, and we do it now. Thank you, first of all, for opening this question, because the lymphatic is just one practice, right? When somebody comes in, we do a health scan. I see everything from what is happening in your gut, in your liver, in your hormones, in your thyroid, minerals, vitamins, hormonal, all the pathogens. I can see exactly the names of parasites, the names of bacteria, the names of fungus, everything. So from there, when I create a program, we have the supplements, but it's in stages, right? The first phase is that foundation. Foundation is lymphatic. So of course, in that first phase, there will be supplements for lymphatic, certain tinctures, herbs. There will be body practices. Your lymphatic drainage, it will be dry body brushing. It will be rebounding. It will give you some exercises to do. There's certain things that we do for lymphatic. And then your food, your nutritional plan, it will support the lymphatic as well through certain foods that you're going to be eating. This is one part, because the protocol will not be only focused on lymphatic, it will be focused on all different pieces of the puzzle that needs to create this foundation in the beginning. And once we are on 4-6 weeks, I scan again, I see where we at, we're moving on to the next phase. And then along the way, the water fasting comes in. And then we start water fasting as well. And then there is the liver flash, different protocol. There is the pathogens flash, completely different protocol. And along the way, the protocols always keep changing, right? While we're scanning to see where we at. The fact that we should learn how our nervous system reacts and not try to shut it down by redirect. Wonderful. Foundation is the key I'm often missing. Thyroids and connection with emotions. Exactly. So you see, like we learn that yes, gut is one organ, right? But it's so interconnected to everything around that organ. So we can't just go and target the gut and waiting miracles to happen. We have this holistic approach of taking into consideration every other aspect that is connected to gut. And nervous system is key. Like when I work with people in the program, we're learning, let's say, trigger comes. Now my nervous system is dysregulated. What is number one thing to do? I don't care what is my trigger. And I don't care what is my belief right now. My number one to go thing is always my nervous system. And how I have for my physical body my protocol for support. In these moments, I have as a protocol, as support, a pause. If I can pause for 1 second when something happens, and the first thing I think, nothing matters right now around me besides giving 3 minutes to myself to regulate my nervous system. This is something that needs to train the muscle, and people need to be in connection with right away. If I feel my nervous system is dysregulated for XYZ reasons, I don't care what is the XYZ right now. My first response is nervous system regulation. The moment I bring my nervous system down, I can see with clarity more. I can respond with clarity. I can see what is my trigger, what is underneath, what I'm feeling. I can do my practices. I can spend another 5 minutes do somatic, and then I can have even more clarity. So that pause, when something happens and my nervous system is dysregulated, that pause is my protocol, right? In that pause, I create space. So what happens is you are at home and a guest opens the door and walks into your home. This is the thought, this is the story. So you get triggered because somebody said something and now you're not feeling good enough about yourself. Somehow there is an irritation in the body, right? There is this thing that, oh, I'm not feeling good enough, and now I have emotions of sadness and I don't know, fears or whatever. My first thing to do is pause, nervous system regulation. In that pause, imagine if I don't pause, my mind is going to spiral. It's going to spiral into the wound and into the story. What happens if a guest gets into my home uninvited? It's going to create chaos. It is the same thing when I'm dysregulated, a thought is trying to access my brain. In that millisecond, when I make a pause, I'm saying to that thought, to that guest, the door is closed now. So I'm creating a pause to regulate my nervous system so I can open that door to that person, which is the thought, the trauma, the belief, whatever is there, and I can examine it from a place of clarity without running into stories inside of me. Because if I let it come in without creating that pause, it's already inside of me. I am in chaos. I am in it. I'm in my wound now. I am in my belief system. I don't know what's happening here. I'm lost, right? So, how I have my protocol, my supplements, my detox practices, my nutritional plan, and I'm following it every day. I have my protocol for my energetic body, is that pause, where I give myself priority to my nervous system right away. And we have all these different responses and different exit routes per response. So this needs to be a non-negotiable mandatory aspect of our lives. And as you practice and becomes part of you, it happens instantly. You could be in a dinner, you get triggered, and you can regulate yourself in a millisecond. Because guess what? You've been training yourself on that. So you don't feel fight, you don't feel freeze or want to leave the table. You are there. You are inside of you, you regulated yourself, and I'm still present. then I can have my time to examine my wound. I can do my psychosomatics. I can do my belief reprogramming. I can attend to those things. But first is the nervous system. What else I have here? Yeah, the first 7 days, how to start without overdoing it. Just eat regular, simple meals, cutting off sugar and gluten, supporting digestion gently, and noticing how your body responds. 7 first days. Not aggressive detoxes or cleanses, not cutting many foods at once, not adding multiple supplements, and not chasing symptoms. Right? Just give yourself 7 days of, organizing yourself around simplicity, that hierarchy of events, and start learning to regulate your nervous system. This will happen many times during the day. The nervous system regulation doesn't need once in a while. It happens multiple times during the day. It could have a very small charge. It could also have a very big charge. It depends on the trigger, how this energy has penetrated me and now it's moving inside of me. And this is my last slide where I'm giving you a little bit of my information, my Instagram, my website, my mail, and my WhatsApp, and the different ways that I work with people. It is the health scans that I always speak to everyone on my social media. And like I said, without this health scan program doesn't exist. I'm just going to be guessing. Of course, we know how to do nervous system and how to do psychosomatics and belief reprogramming and all those things. But when it comes to the physical body, without access to really seeing what is happening underneath, we're just guessing. And we have one-to-one sessions, all the holistic health protocols. And at the moment, I'm working with a 6-month program. That's the only offering I have as I'm going to move this here. That's the only offering I'm having at the moment. In the past, I have smaller containers, like 4 months, 3 months. It's not enough time. And because I want to hold this work with integrity and pace and softness and right pacing between protocols where things landing and getting integrated, the minimum is 6 months, where everything unfolds in a beautiful, smooth pace. Anything less than that is a rushed work. We're trying to do it, in a faster way than the body is actually asking. So moving forward, it's only a 6-month program. The health scan stands alone. If somebody would like to have a health scan, it could be as a standalone. It's not part of the program, the first one. Somebody can come in, have a health scan, and get a little bit a taste of how I work, how I do the analysis, how deep I can go, and how much information I can give you. I also give you, with a health scan, besides the analysis of everything, a roadmap where to focus in your case. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Don't take it as set on stone because, it could fluctuate depending of how your body is responding, but kind of like this will be the roadmap. And then if somebody decides to start with me, then they sign up on the 6 month. So this initial health scan is like to get to know each other, for the other person to feel also trust and confidence that I want to do this. And then they start with the 6 month. Every time I make a big realization or cut off something, understand I've been growing of the most determined. I got a little bit confused reading it. Once I'm going to read it again. Cuts off something or understand some I've been ignoring. All of those most related to trauma and sentiment. Because your nervous system is reacting to it. It's like when we have realizations of events that are happening and it's big, the nervous system has a reaction to it. Magdalena, you hear me? I saw you stuck there. I know Magdalena from years ago, so I'm more
Oh,
like familiar with her to talk in this way.
To be honest, I was just purchasing because at this time it's happening quite often and a lot. Like every time I have a big, I accept something which I've been ignoring or withdrawing, like my body is constantly, immediately after a second reacting. So it's
Same,
like cleansing itself on its own way. So I
mm,
understand now that you're saying back
same,
to.
same. I still need to go back, but thank you. Of course. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me any moment. This workshop will be recorded. It is recorded actually, and you can have access to it for 72 hours. I hope it was beneficial and you got a lot of insight out of it. And yeah, see you soon. If you would like to connect further with me and either through a health scan or any other way, please reach out any moment. And for now, have a beautiful weekend. And we speak soon. We speak in the next workshop that is gonna happen soon about nervous system. Bless your path and see you soon. Bye everyone.